Of course, you probably think I'm eccentric. I'm not. I'm colorful. After 41 years at Whittier College, you become colorful.
The person who became John New made his earthly debut in 1938, the second son of a prominent Omaha physician and a refined mother. Our likable child grew up with Harold, later a distinguished internist, but then merely a tormenting older brother, and Mary Jo, his strikingly attractive younger sister. Mary Jo appears to have inherited most of her mother's beauty, while the New brothers had to make do with their father's keen intelligence. While many have found a Roman Catholic education less than heavenly, not so for our John. He thrived among the Jesuits in an all-male Creighton prep. A scholarly youth, pious beyond his years, the entire school resounded in his praise. His social circle included classmates and friends, mostly from the parish. Not the least of these was Betty Fitzgerald, a perky Irish colleen of the Omaha Fitzgeralds, a family of considerable fortune and prestige. She took a shine to John, but alas, it's the old story of a lovely girl invites her young man home to meet the family, but he unhappily falls for one of her siblings. In John's case, it was Betty's older brother, Sean. The implications of that preference forced John to reevaluate his plans for the future. He had long dreamed of joining the Jesuits, but the road was clearly fraught with risks. How, he wondered, could he maintain his focus in a cloistered seminary surrounded by so many Sean Fitzgeralds? So he abandoned his plans for the priesthood and enrolled in Creighton University, a far safer course given America's social climate of 1957. At Creighton, the young scholar excelled academically. Graduating with distinction after only 3 years, he turned now to pursue graduate study. John enrolled in Harvard and found it to his liking. He sharpened his focus to international relations, grew fascinated with African politics, and considered pursuing a PhD. But Harvard, he discovered, was filled with earthly temptations that the sheltered Nebraskan found quite shocking. Whether it was his wavering moral compass, the draft, or the prospect of academia's genteel poverty, John said goodbye to Harvard with a master's degree in hand and headed back to Omaha, this time to attend Creighton Law School. By 1966, the new assistant legal counsel for a large insurance company was well on his way to a distinguished legal career. It was all quite stuffy and respectable, but something was clearly wrong. Try as he might, he couldn't resist the siren's call of higher education. By 1968, he was back at school, this time pursuing a doctorate in sub-Saharan politics at the University of Nebraska. Toward the end of his doctoral studies, John's life suddenly took a fateful detour, one so secretive that only now can it be revealed. Increasingly disillusioned with his boyhood faith and the problem of sin, John fell sway to the wily machinations of a gypsy fortune-teller. Lady Zelda, as she was known, convinced John to develop and pursue his much-beloved musical talents. He did so with remarkable success, running the gamut from Gilbert and Sullivan to the occasional turn in cabaret. So uncanny was his resemblance to a certain legend of English rock that he successfully replaced him when bouts of dissipation sidelined the star. Thus it came to pass that John saved a music giant's reputation and made himself a fortune. His financial success today can actually be traced directly to the wealth he accumulated on the rock and roll stage, not through the questionable real estate deals long considered the foundation of his commercial empire. But the stage, like the law before it, would not deter John New from his destiny. With money no longer a concern, he could afford to take a position at Whittier College. He arrived in 1971, immediately established a unique teaching presence, and embarked on a successful tour of Africa the following summer. Apart from bouts with dysentery and an unpleasant summit with heads of state, he survived the trip and returned to Whittier a wiser and considerably lighter professor. He immediately committed himself to teaching at the college, and between 1977 and 1984 at its newly acquired law school. And what is his distinctiveness as a professor? Certainly he is a bulldog for detail, precision, and conscientiousness. Simply put, John cannot escape his past. You can take the boy out of the Jesuits, but you can't take the Jesuits out of the boy.
Well, I'm done grading your paper, Mr. Harris. There you have it. Well, I'm sorry, but that's the grade you get. It's was supposed to be here at 9 o'clock, and it's a minute late.
Curmudgeon, Dutch uncle, retentive old grouch. A teddy bear in corduroy is really more like it, for while his standards never slip, his bark is usually far worse than his bite.
So let's handle it this way. We'll give you a day's extension.
In his classes, John challenges students to think deeply and write clearly. Yes, it is true, sometimes he does send the guardians of political correctness racing for their smelling salts. But through it all, he remains a voice of reason and reality, and does so with such grace, self-effacing good humor, and genuine kindness that it takes a considerable effort not to love the man. His passion for the law, gay rights, and basic human decency can wind him into a tizzy, but that too is part of his distinctive, colorful charm. Turning 75 in January, what does the future hold for him? If John decides to step down after all these years, his retirement will inspire no smiling faces across the Whittier campus. Students will miss his memorable newisms, colleagues his pithy comments, and friends his trademark voice, cavernous smile, and crackling laugh of his that echoes throughout Platner Hall. For 41 years now, there has been only one John New. There cannot be, there will never be, another John New of Whittier College.